You know, Billy Bones, you know what is like, it's almost comical, but you know, recently in the news, New York City mayor, the little short, diminutive little fascist, Republican fascist, Mayor Michael Bloomberg, Michael Bloomballs, whatever you want to call him. He wants to outlaw what is known as the big soda.
Big gulps.
The big gulps. Any soda that is above, what is it, 8 or 12?
16 ounces, I think.
Anything, is it 16 and above or above 16?
I think above 16.
Anything that's above 16 ounces.
Or maybe it is, I don't know exactly. It's just the biggies.
Yeah, the biggies.
The biggies.
And his reason,
you can have an 8 ounce.
His reason being that there is an obesity epidemic in the United States. He's right about that,
yeah.
And particularly with children. But my answer to him is, you know, it's funny. The New York City voted. They can't vote to make bicycle helmets mandatory. They have a problem with bicycle helmets, but they don't have. They seem to want to outlaw large consumptions of sugar. But the point is, it's not the size of the soda or the iced tea or whatever that is the problem, you politicians out there. The problem is that the companies who manufacture the soft drinks in America, the soda manufacturers and the ones that make iced teas and such, they put a tremendous amount of white refined sugar in the soda. I mean, I hear it's like 16 teaspoons into 1 can of Coke or Pepsi.
Or 17, I think.
Or 17 teaspoons of white refined sugar to 1 can of soda. That's unbelievable. And I know for a fact that when you buy the same Coke or Pepsi in other countries, like down in Latin America, you taste more cola than sugar. They use a lot less sugar in the formula for other countries. Gee, I wonder why they use so much sugar for the soda sold in the United States.
Because we are addicted to sugar and salt and that sort of stuff. And by the way, Mr. Bloomberg should know that you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink.
They'll just buy more. They'll get refills. They'll get refills. They'll buy more.
We have this in many areas of life, you know. You can try to teach somebody something, tell somebody something. They still do what they want to do.
Well, the government, all they have to do is not worry about the big gulp, the big size soda, but simply go after the companies and make them use a lot less refined sugar in their soda like they do overseas.
See, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Whenever the politicians think of regulations, it's always for the little guys. It's never for the crooks. It's never for the big guys. It's never for them.
It's against us.
Yes.
It's like that old political poster I came upon where it shows
wanted dead or alive.
No, it shows a little lower income person serving like 13 years in the state of Texas for stealing a black and white TV. This African American gentleman's for stealing a black and white TV. He's doing all that time, but then they show a big white collar criminal from Wall Street, and he's
still out in the open,
and he's not doing any time. Interesting how that works, you know.
He's like Scrooge McDuck counting his money.
Right, and he's not in the can.
Yeah,
he's not arrested, but the little guy gets arrested for stealing a TV that becomes obsolete in like 6 months or a year probably nowadays. But the point, this is the point. Regulations always seem to be directed towards the little guy, never towards the fat cats.
Speaking of sugar.
Speaking of sugar, this obnoxious ice cream truck that comes around our neighborhood here in northeastern New Jersey has this annoying jingle.
Actually, it's better than the other one he had.
Yeah, well, this one sounds like it's from Snow White, I think, the song. But he plays it continuously, and he parks waiting for kids to come out, and he keeps on playing this song, which to me is very annoying to the residents. But anyway, this is the thing. Bloomberg, any government, any of our so-called public servants, go after the companies and get them to use a little bit of sugar like the Coke and Pepsi and soda that's sold in other countries, or just sweeten it with stevia. Natural, safe, 0 calories, does not increase blood sugar. Make them use a good, safe, natural alternative to sugar, or just simply cut down on the sugar. I've tasted colas from Latin America, sold in Latin America, not the ones sold here in this country. They are considerably less sweet. So the thing about the Biggie soda, it's a joke. It's a complete joke. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were on the air. This is Progressive Discussions. Welcome to Progressive Discussions. I am your host, James P. Madonna, and I am here with my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. How are you today, sir?
Lousy.
Yeah, his refrigerator kicked the bucket.
Yeah. Kicked the compressor.
Kicked the compressor, went kaput. And they had to rush all the perishables to an alternative refrigerator next door. But it happens to be Saturday, June the 2nd. Already. June the 2nd, 2012. And it's comfortable this weekend, but not as cool as the weather people said. It's just a little warm, but it's not bad. I could feel the humidity. But I just want to, before I go on to my second topic, and then we're going to go right to the articles. All right. I would like to salute and say get well to an Irishman who is a friend of mine. He is the foremost authority on Indian and Persian club swinging in the United States, circular strength training, circular fitness. His name is Mr. Richard Army McGuire of Los Angeles, California, and his videos are on the internet, and he is an expert at Persian and club swinging. As you well know, I started a group concerning Persian and Indian club swinging and mace and kettlebell swinging called The Meal Ticket, spelled M-E-E-L. And Richard McGuire unexpectedly had a traumatic thing happen to him. He had a detached retina, and he is now recovering from detached retina surgery. He had to have 2 surgeries, not 1 but 2. So recover and get well soon, Richard Army McGuire. I salute you with my famous bouquet of live shamrocks with the blossoms. Okay, you remember me taking this out in the past. Well, guess what? It's been a few years and it's still alive. It's still doing well because I put it outside when the weather gets, you know, from spring to fall. Anyway, Richard Army McGuire, get well soon. All right, I dedicate this show to you, that you heal up, and I salute you with my weapons grade blackthorn shillelagh imported from Ireland. So here's to you, Richard Army McGuire. All right, get a close-up of the shamrocks. Okay, they're a little bit closed because they're used to being outside in the bright light. When the sun starts to go down, they actually close up and go to sleep. So right now they are semi-dormant because we are indoors. But outside they open right up. Nice, thick, full bouquet of shamrocks.
Cool.
All right, get well soon, Richard Army McGuire. Now we will get... Well, oh, wait. Before we get into the articles, hold on. I just want to make one statement. Just a little dirt, just a little dust or whatever on the pot, because
dust on the bottom.
Because they are outside. Okay, I want to state
For the record.
That, in my opinion, I think the process of renewing certifications. Let's wait for this friggin' ice cream truck to pass.
He's gone.
There's a lot of kids in this neighborhood, that's why he's hanging around. I believe that the renewing of certifications in American academia is an academic racket. The renewing of certifications is an academic racket, because when you go to school and you pass your course with the required grade point average and you receive your diploma, that's it. You receive your diploma. You earned it. Your diploma is yours. Well, the same thing goes for getting a certification. You study, and then you take a final exam and you receive your certification. Now, why should you, after every 1 or 2 years, why should you have to spend all that money and spend all that money on extra educational credits to renew a certification, which is just like a diploma? You study for it, you take a final exam, you receive it. So this concept of constantly renewing your certification, to me, is just a typical American capitalist racket. You have any thoughts on that?
They probably have that to be able to get rid of what they consider bad apples or people who don't toe the line or stuff of that nature. Because once you get tenure, they can't fire you.
No, this goes on forever. For the life,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
For the life of the certification. In other words,
so they make it so that that they have a way to get rid of you. If you don't teach creationism or whatever, then they have a way of getting rid of you. See, that's what it's all about. It's all about trying to get people in there who share their ideology.
Yeah. Well, in this case,
and it's done by the right wing.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's not political. It's just a way for the schools to make extra money, because they want to perpetuate this continuing education and have you spend, I believe, for medical billing and coding, it's like $154 to, that you have to it's like $1 per credit. Yeah. And you have to earn a certain amount of credits to renew your certification. The same thing with personal trainers. They make you renew, and they claim it's for the good of the profession. But in actuality, you have already studied.
It's like a license.
And passed the final exam.
A license, like for a real estate salesman, you've got to pay every year.
You got to keep on paying.
Continue your license, yes.
Oh, you mean like having a car registration? You got to keep on paying every year.
Yeah, or a notary, you got to keep paying every year, or whatever.
What about a permit? A permit for something. Let's say you have an exotic item in the house. Let's say you have an exotic pet that requires a permit. It's all a racket.
Generate fees.
It was probably invented by a lawyer turned politician as a way of suckering more revenue out of the little guy.
Fees are an easy way of getting taxes. It's a tax. It's a tax. No matter how you dress it up or put lipstick on it, it's still a pig.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tax.
Yeah.
It's all a tax, and all these taxes, whether it be renewing a certification or renewing a permit or renewing a registration or whatever, renewing anything, or consumption taxes, sales taxes, Dr. Bill, they all seem like
they're all ways to
taxes.
Spread the tax burden to those lower down on the economic ladder.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
Right, because the rich don't...
Reagan! Remember, Reagan, you keep saying, he switched the tax burden to those lower down on the economic rung of the ladder, and that's what happened, and that's how you do it.
And took it off the rich.
Yes.
Yeah,
because
so
we had to make it up. When the rich got their holiday for the last 32, 33 years...
Of not paying taxes.
Of not paying their proper share of taxes, we made it up. Or they cut services.
But it's all a way to keep the taxes off the rich.
Of course, because they are the job producers.
Yeah, sure.
Look at all the jobs they have produced in the last 12 years with Bushy's tax cuts.
Yeah, the rich don't have to worry about recertifications. They're rich. Or they don't have to worry about good health care. Hey, did you see that political banner that shows the deficits under all the recent Republican presidential administrations?
And the Democratic?
Bush, it shows Reagan, it shows Herbert Walker Bush, G.W. Bush. It shows the exact number of the deficits with each recent Republican president, and then it shows Clinton with the surplus, and over each Republican president it says fiscally conservative.
Yeah. Fiscally
conservative, and then under the Democrat, Bill Clinton,
tax and spend.
The tax and spend Democrat, tax and spend liberal, he has a surplus. He leaves office with a surplus. I kept that one. I thought that was...
He got rid of that very fast, didn't he? Surplus.
Because the Bush family has an obsession with oil in the Middle East. And maybe war profiteering, right?
Well, making their class richer. That's what it's all about.
Somebody posted something during Memorial Day about, the U.S. military personnel are giving their lives for our freedom. And I had to remind her not to believe conservative propaganda, because when was the last time the United States borders were actually threatened and our very freedom was actually threatened?
I think it was 1814 when they burned down the White House, the British.
Okay, what about World War II? Our borders were almost threatened, right, by Germany, Nazi Germany, Japan? Not really?
No way. They didn't get over here.
So all these wars, Vietnam, or Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, in Iraq, and then now Afghanistan, our freedom and our borders are not threatened.
The war is a racket. General Smedley Butler.
Right.
The fact that it is wars that we have participated in other than World War II are wars of choices that we've made to gather resources.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be oil, minerals, whatever.
Resources mean moolah, right?
That's correct.
The big mammoo.
For the big boys.
For the fat cats, right.
That's correct. Yeah. So I think somebody posted up there last night on Facebook that these soldiers have died for oil.
Yes, I seen that too.
Not for freedom. It's the same thing they keep trying to make you believe, that these militant Muslims, Islam, they hate us for our freedom. No, they don't. They hate us for screwing around in their culture.
Occupying them.
Occupying them.
Stealing their
whatever.
Oil. Taking their oil, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to be occupied. If the United States were occupied, could you imagine, could you imagine all the Americans in out west and in the South taking up arms and forming militias? If some country tried to occupy the United States?
Well, some country has occupied the United States.
Yeah, the
corporations.
The right-wing religious nuts.
Yeah. Okay.
And I also found some posters of some famous people in political history, including Barry Goldwater of Arizona, stating that if the religious right wing fundamentalists got control of the United States, they will try to combine church and state, and we will be
trying to do it now.
And we will be in deep trouble here in the United States if that happened.
All you have to do is look at history. What did the Roman Catholic Church do when they controlled the Holy Roman Empire?
There you go.
And had the Holy Roman Empire do their dirty work of killing over 50 million people.
They try to force their ways on everybody. Like Rick Santorum wanted to combine church and state.
Yes.
That nut.
They have this idea. They have this idea that God cares for them, number one. They have this idea that
God talks to them.
With a stovepipe. Oh, wait, maybe God has a cell phone. I'm sorry. God has a cell phone. But they believe that if they put the Ten Commandments where people will see Him, like they have "In God We Trust" on the money, what sacrilege that is.
Yeah, right.
But if they do those things, it will make God think that they are godly. But what God says in the Bible is they have a form of godliness, but it's garbage.
Yeah. Well, Santorum wanted to outlaw everything, like he's speaking for God. He wanted to outlaw pornography, control the internet, probably outlaw homosexuality,
and like they do in Alabama, outlaw vibrators,
outlaw sex toys in Alabama and maybe Texas, and that, like that other religious nut, the Christine, the slutty witch O'Donnell, wanted to outlaw masturbation. Yeah, try to enforce that. But they want they want. You know, it's funny how a group of people claim they are so close to God, and then again they really hate people, you know, that are not rich. You know, they hate you if you're not rich. They love the fetus.
They're hypocrites.
They love the fetus, but they hate the baby.
Oh, indeed they do. Like, for instance, look at all the other industrial countries in the world. They all have takeoff time, paid leave when you have a baby, so you can go home and take care of it.
Maternity and paternity leave, right?
But not the United States.
Oh no, they just give you
One
leave.
country has 47 weeks.
They just give you leave to give birth, and they probably want you back to work again.
Of course they do. The very next day.
No, what I'm saying is, the right-wing Republicans love the fetus, but they hate the child once it's born.
The born child, yes.
Once it's born, unless, of course, it's a rich baby with a silver spoon in its mouth, because then they won't need any social programs.
That's pretty sure.
You know, so unless it's welfare for the rich, of course, in the form of subsidies and Wall Street bailouts.
That kind of socialism is very well
that kind
tolerated in America.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, articles.
Absolutely. Uh-oh.
I haven't heard too much about Chubsy Ubsy lately.
Neither have I, except...
maybe he's a little tired. Maybe he's got to rest his diaphragm and vocal cords. Maybe he's on an eating binge.
He's trying to get a guy on a Supreme Court.
We're talking about New Jersey Governor Christie. He's trying to get somebody on the Jersey Supreme Court?
Yeah, somebody that he, will do his bidding.
Well, of course, any right-wing fascist wants everybody to do their bidding.
Excitement is already building for the transit of Venus.
Venus is too hot, man. It's too close to the sun.
An astronomical event that won't occur again for 105 years. On Tuesday, Venus will cross in front of the sun from the Earth's perspective, producing a small visible dot that will glide from left to right across the top of the solar disk. It is a very rare event. The transit of Venus has only happened 7 times since the telescope was invented.
Wow.
The last time was 2004. But why is it going to be here now? It ain't 105 years later.
I like the Hale-Bopp comet, especially that song they wrote for it. Let's go to the Bopp.
There was a comet that came very close to the Earth a few days ago.
Hale-Bopp?
Not the Hale-Bopp comet, a comet, whatever it was, an asteroid.
Okay.
Which nobody ever said anything about until it was over.
You know, that wasn't the first time the government kept their mouth shut about an asteroid, dangerous asteroid, right?
Mm-hmm.
A big one, coming close to the Earth. They keep their mouth closed about certain things.
The last time was 2004, but the Western Hemisphere was unable to view it. According to an online video from Slew Space Camera, astronomers used the transit of Venus to calculate the size of the solar system. Knowing it was so rare, countries sent out ships around the world to time to the second how long it took the disk of Venus to move from one edge of the sun to the other. It was from these data that scientists were able to calculate the distance of the Earth to the sun. Those with the best seats for Venus transit will be in eastern Australia, New Zealand, and Eastern Asia. So that's way down there in the, what is that, what ocean is that?
Well, there's the Indian Ocean.
Is that the Indian one there?
Well, Australia?
Australia, New Zealand?
Australia border.
You know, basically, there's one ocean. It's all connected. But, you know, we got 7 of them. We divide them into 7.
No, so oceans and seas, which are gigantic bays. Gigantic bays, I would say. But yeah, the Indian and the Pacific flow into each other, which flows into the Atlantic, which flows back into the Pacific, blah, blah, blah. Arctic. It's all interconnected. But Australia borders on the Pacific and the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, in India. Yeah.
And to the north, you have Indonesia.
For those west of the international dateline, the eclipse occurs on Wednesday. The continental United States and southern Canada will get a partial show on Tuesday evening, but the sun will set before Venus finishes her journey. The same show will also be visible in Mexico.
Visible, what'd you say?
Central America.
Visible, okay.
And the northern edge of South America, according to Jay Anderson, an astronomer. Meanwhile, most of Europe, Eastern Africa, and the rest of Asia will see the tail end of Venus transits after the sun rises on Wednesday. In terms of climate and location, Eastern Australia or Hawaii, the transit. In the continental United States, the southwest is the best. California has better than even chances of clear weather on a typical June afternoon, and Arizona has a more than 90% chance of clear skies. I don't think so with the fires burning there and in New Mexico. Thunderstorms could be a problem elsewhere in the United States. Just like with an eclipse, don't look directly at the sun. Doing so can literally cook the eye's cells and cause eclipse blindness.
No one should stare directly into the sun, or the.
And don't let the sun catch a crime, as Jerry and the Pacemakers used to say.
Or I wouldn't even stare into the halogen headlamps of a vehicle. The new halogen lights, they're very painful.
Yeah, they're pretty bright.
Sure. Well, I would, we're going to have these solar storms at the end of 2012, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I would suggest more so this year, don't worry about getting a tan. It's not worth it. It's better to have young looking, soft, smooth, healthy, light skin than to have dried, possibly abnormal
alligator
cells
skin,
or malignant melanoma, or dried out brown skin. you know, unless brown skin is part of your genetics. But if you're a light person,
Well, you got brown skin. How the hell are we going to know you got a sunburn?
no, they get burned.
A tan.
They get burned.
I know, but how are you going to know they got a tan?
They don't need a tan. They don't worry about
Well, no
things.
kidding.
Only white people worry about stupid things like that. Getting a tan. People that grew up in the tropics, whether they be of Indian background or African background or not, or whether they are mixed race or whether they, you know, are from Europe. If you grow up in the tropics, you do not worry about tanning and laying in the sun. Only tourists do that.
Yeah.
No, there's no need for it. You could walk around outside, walk, and get a tan. You know, the sun is everywhere. You don't have to stand still to get a tan. And these jabronis that go on vacation, they're always lying out in the sun, all greased up. You know, Americans from the north that go frying. Doesn't matter. Hey, the same sun is 50 feet away if you walk back and forth than it is if you lie down in one spot. Whether you're moving or whether you're stationary, you're still getting the ultraviolet, the UVB and UVA. Well, it's the UVBs that tan you. You're still getting them. Ultraviolet radiation. What nincompoops. But these are the same nincompoops that voted in a Republican Congress. You know, not, you know, what is it, a year or two ago?
And are threatening not to recall Walker of Wisconsin, and threatening to actually vote in Mr.
Oh, Mr. that says it's nice to be back in a place where the trees are the right size. In Michigan, remember that? Yeah. Sounds like a G.W. Bush against Al Gore in Florida, doesn't it, with Walker?
Oh, speaking of G.W. Bush.
With Walker.
He was at the White House the other day.
Mm-hmm.
His portrait and his wife's portraits were revealed.
Oh, recently made?
Yes, these portraits are going to hang in the White House.
What did he do that was positive for the United States?
He was El Presidente in name only.
That's it.
So being a president, you get your portrait done.
Yeah, but
life size.
What about all the controversial scandals and skeletons in his closet? Do you think he deserves a portrait to be hanging next to greats like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington?
Well, he's got one. Whether deserved or not, he's got one. High fructose corn syrup.
Not good.
Won't get a wholesome new name after all.
Wholesome? Yeah.
The Food and Drug Administration on Wednesday rejected the Corn Refiners Association's bid to rename its sweetening agent corn sugar.
That's what it is.
The Corn Refiners Association submitted an application to the agency in 2010 to have the sweetening agent renamed corn sugar on nutrition labels. The group has also been running a marketing campaign to explain that its syrup is actually a form of sugar and has the same nutritional value as the familiar white granular table sugar, which has no nutritional value.
Yeah, as compared with pure natural dehydrated sugarcane juice, which contains all of the nutrients that happen to be very high from raw, fresh sugarcane.
But the FDA said it defines sugar as a solid, dried, crystallized food, not a syrup.
Well, I think that's a good idea because, well, anything that ends in the letters OSE is a sugar.
Well, they've been getting a lot of bad publicity on the high fructose corn syrup, so they want to change the name.
Sure.
See, that's what they do. It's like the Republicans when they want to put a bill through.
Right.
And it's a bill that's going to allow polluters to pollute more. They call it the Clear Skies Amendment. You see? That's what they do.
It's
So
like,
that's what the...
it's like calling an obese man. It's like calling Christie, hey, skinny.
Or they might say, what do they call the chubby? Hey, chubby.
Chubby? Well, the opposite of what
the
they
bigger
are.
guy, you know.
They call them
chubby.
sometimes tiny
Or tiny or skinny. Yeah, if that's what they want to avoid it entirely. If they want to avoid that he's a little on the large size, you know, they will refer to him as the opposite.
Listen, refined sugar to the American food industry is nothing but a cheap filler and a way to get Americans addicted to carbohydrates, so they buy more of their garbage, toxic, void of nutrition products.
Yeah.
And then, of course, trans fats is a form of preservatives that keeps baked goods, that gives baked goods a longer shelf life in supermarkets. But it's poison. You know what has trans fats? That product,
Oreos.
that product from Italy called Nutella,
Nutella has trans fats.
That is made from hazelnut.
Oh my heavens, Giada uses it a lot.
Trans fats. It's loaded with sugar, man.
Oh.
It's loaded with sugar, the corn syrups in
I guess it ain't made by Smuckers, huh?
Well, Peter Pan peanut butter is loaded with sugar, and
so is Jif.
And so is Jif. That's garbage. I go to Whole Foods. It actually costs less, and I grind my peanut butter fresh, right under the machine, and you feel that warm peanut butter just going right into the deli container.
I used to eat it like that from ShopRite. Half-Mart, excuse me.
And it's actually cheaper.
Remember they had the machine over there by the meat section, the frozen meat. They had that peanut machine.
Yeah, I never used it.
And then they had the plastic containers.
You know why I never used it?
Oh, I never used it, but I bought the plastic container.
But you know why I never used that from that supermarket? The fresh.
Because they never cleaned it.
Yeah, and I also found something.
A roach.
Crawl out of the machine. Not a roach.
Some roaches.
A squadron.
They
an
were
army.
using it as a motel.
It was a very tasty, nutritious. It was like the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City to the roaches. It was a resort to those roaches. That's what happens when you don't keep things clean, people. You get pestilence.
Yeah, the third is that the I think that's the fourth horseman of the apocalypse.
Hey, you don't have to have rats, mice, and roaches in a ghetto if everybody is spotlessly clean.
Now there's the disease Shagus is on the uptick.
What's Shagus?
It's a bite from a insect. Looks a little like a cockroach, and it's called a kissing bug.
What makes you?
Because it bites around the lips, or it'll bite on the eyelid.
It makes you horny for like hours and hours?
No, it does not. It can cause a lot of problems.
Oh.
But there's an uptick of it in the U.S. Saw a little bit on the news the other night.
People get a reaction to the bite, right? It has like a venomous bite or a bacterial.
Something.
Oh wow!
I didn't get the full story.
Shagus. It almost sounds like haggis, which I never ate before. Always.
Chagas.
Always wanted to try. Shagus. Always wanted to try haggis from Scotland. Yeah. So anyway, that's the Shagus. The Shagus illness. Interesting.
And we don't have time to go into a bigger thing here.
Oh, you got a tiny one?
Not tiny enough.
Okay.
Unless, let me see, maybe I got a letter here.
Yeah,
I got a letter here.
Maybe you can knock one off before lunch.
I can knock off a letter here. Let's see, is this one I want to read? Oh, speaking of the big boy.
Balloon boy.
Unemployment is a whopping 9%. Foreclosures are up, revenues are down, workers' incomes are declining, and the people of this state, New Jersey, think we are headed in the right direction? Am I missing something here? With growth stalled, Governor Christie's budget projections off by hundreds of millions of dollars, and the analysts from the Office of Legislative Services predicting even more of a shortfall, the governor is still touting a New Jersey comeback by continuing to propose a tax cut that mainly benefits the rich. The divide couldn't be starker, yet people continue to turn a blind eye. The average wage earner is being lured by an $85 carrot, so the 1% can reap thousands of dollars more in tax giveaways. Christie is leading us over a cliff instead of throwing money into the pockets of those who don't need it. Christie should be casting aside harmful austerity and start investing in our infrastructure, our public schools, our health care, and other vital services to get New Jersey on a path to prosperity for all.
All right.
Since Governor Christie, I got two of them. I got two of them.
2 letters?
2 letters, yeah. Since Governor Christie came to office, my property taxes have gone up.
Yeah, so much for cutting property taxes for the middle class.
The state no longer gives all utility gross receipts taxes back to the towns and no longer provides much aid to public schools in my district. Now I hear that Christie wants to take money designated to fix our highways and use it to pay for an income tax cut, which will barely affect us. Then, even worse, he wants to borrow money to replace the money he took from the transportation fund. This borrowing will make my property taxes go even higher, and we will have to repay the loan. We get transportation money for transportation. He should use it for transportation. We do not need an income tax cut that we will be paying for later.
The only thing Chris Christie seems to care about is the rich not paying any taxes. You know, and his
that's
food.
the criticism of all the Republicans.
And his food supply, Chris Christie. Those are the only 2 things he cares about. He don't care about anything else. It sounds like a corrupt politician in the third world country. You know, they just take, me, and the hell with everybody else. That's how it sounds like with these right-wing Republicans.
I got another one here.
Another letter?
Yeah, about Christie.
Okay.
It was with great dismay that I read the article concerning Governor Christie's budget and his anticipated plans to take funding from both clean energy and transportation. Before reaching into these funds, thought should really be given to eliminating those patronage jobs for political cronies, with their attendant perks, benefits, and excessive salaries. This would go a long way toward freeing budget money. I have commuted to Manhattan for more than 30 years. What Christie does not seem to understand is that what should be a short commute from Bergen County has turned into a ridiculous, excruciatingly painful, long commute. This is due largely in part because there are not enough buses to handle the current volume of commuters. By the way, did you see that, oh boy, it just flew out of my head, the big terminal over there in New York?
Penn Station?
Penn Station?
Penn Station?
No air conditioning.
Why? Bloomberg...
Busted.
Oh, because they're not maintaining it.
And to maintain it, I heard the figure tossed around of $30 million.
Just
to fix it. What the hell? What kind of air conditioning is that?
30 million.
30 million?
It's just an air conditioning system.
So right now they got these big fans set up on the floor.
You think somebody is pocketing some of that tax dollar that's supposed to be allocated?
Well, somebody did not do infrastructure upgrade over all these years,
30
obviously.
million. Bullshit. 30
Wow.
million. 30 million my ass.
Anyway,
30 million.
It really frosts me that a majority of the focus relative to improving transportation in New Jersey has been on train service with little to no thought given to bus commuters. Christie and Bergen counties' representatives in the legislature should wake up. There are those of us who must travel by bus to get to work. To continue falling short of equitable distribution of transportation funding and incurring more public debt could result in those commutes changing voting patterns in future elections. How about now?
Yeah, how about now? And whatever happened to the prototype that for an electric, like a monorail or a bullet train?
The bullet.
The prototype was supposed to be built near in the Alexandria, Virginia, which is a suburb of Washington D.C. They were supposed to do that great experiment to see how the new trains would work, to try to get more cars off the road.
The Republicans have filibustered everything,
and they never became a reality.
No.
Because if you have more public transportation, like the fast electric bullet trains, you will not need as many cars on the road. With the high cost of maintaining a vehicle today and purchasing it,
Mitch McConnell
and
said,
pollution and traffic, yeah.
Mitch McConnell said when Obama was inaugurated, our number one concern is to make this president a one-term president. Therefore, anything that he suggested was filibustered.
So they said.
So therefore, we don't have the investment in these things that would have been creating jobs and etc. The only investments we made were to those crooks and corruptors on Wall Street, those immoral bastards on Wall Street, who, by the way, Mr. Obama has employed. I mention off the top of my head Larry Summers, Robert Rubin, and Timothy Geithner.
And what about the former CEO of General Electric?
Mr. Immelt.
Hired him?
Yeah. I think
he's the job creating
he's the job
czar?
creator, yes.
The
yes.
czar. The czar of
yes.
job creation. A company that doesn't pay any income taxes, General Electric, their CEO gets a government job as the job creating czar.
And guess how many jobs were created last month?
Well, I know his was.
69,000.
Oh, gee, that's it?
Yeah.
How many jobs were outsourced?
Well, you know, before
GE
Obama,
did a good job of outsourcing Wisconsin's plant to China.
Before Obama got into office,
right,
there was something like 8.5 million jobs that were insourced. In other words, the guys that had the PhDs and etc. that had the jobs were replaced by the H-1B visas.
The workers' visa. The people that work cheap, the immigrants with the H-1B workers' visa, bringing them into the United States. Yes, yes. So you have the outsourcing, which screws the American citizens royally, and then you have the insourcing of H-1B workers' visas, which means that it's still like outsourcing American jobs to another country, third world country. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's the same thing. It's like, you know. But you know, people have told me that certain countries like Singapore, the job market is actually not bad there. You know.
Yeah, Singapore and
Hong Kong, maybe Australia,
Malaysia.
So, yeah, Malaysia. Yeah, it's not. They're not hurting that much.
Up and coming, up and coming.
But all the H-1B people, you know, on 60 Minutes they showed Microsoft has a lot of imported computer techs from India. You know, from the India Institute of Technology, something like that, a famous
Whatever,
School,
but each one of those is taking a job from an American.
And Microsoft's reason was that they're so competent and they're so impressed by them, but in reality,
Number one reason was they work cheaper. It's as simple as it
big
is.
mamoo. They work cheaper. That's what they don't tell the media.
Of course.
That they work cheaper. Okay, listen. We have to take a short break because it is time for the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight known as lunch, followed by high mega dose. No vitamin C this time?
Vitamin C,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
no tea.
I didn't say tea.
Okay.
Mega vitamin
I
C.
missed my tea today.
You miss it? Well, you can always drink it tonight. You don't drink anything?
Oh, I drink stuff, yeah, but not the tea.
Well, the tea is
I usually drink the tea at 1:30 in the afternoon.
well,
If I drink the tea at 1:30 on a Saturday,
yeah.
my friend, I will be running to you-know-where during the show.
What if you drink 8 ounces of green tea right after your nut and seed meal at 9 p.m.? What would
I
happen?
drink vitamin C at that time.
Oh, you divide it up in 2 dosages.
Yeah.
You know it's possible to use the green tea, the cool green tea water for your vitamin C. You know what it'll taste like? It'll taste like lemon, like a lemon.
Not now,
It'll taste-
because there's no refrigerator.
Oh yeah, Dr. Bill's refrigerator one could put. Oh, incidentally, last night we had a big thunderstorm and all the electricity on my block went out. My street was pitch black. Our house was pitch black, and if it wasn't for that little powerful LED light flashlight that I showed you, that blinded the hell out of you, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been able to find the candles. And I went down in the basement with that little LED lamp flashlight, and I checked the circuit breakers. No good. It was the whole block that was out.
Well,
How are you? How was your electricity?
we had no problems whatsoever.
You had no trouble?
Nope.
Okay.
There was heavy rain, but there was no thunder.
There was no thunder,
And lightning.
so this part of town is fine.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, we were blackened out, but it came back. I would say maybe 15 minutes later, so it's not bad. Yeah. Dr. Bill, you notice how all the cans of veggies like beans and such, they used to be 16 ounces. All packaging was based on a 1 pound 16-ounce package. Now they give you like 15 ounces. The greedy
And charge you more.
the greedy American food industry, they can't throw in that 1 ounce to make it 16 ounces like the old days. They're that stingy and greedy that they give you 15 ounces. I want to salute the recent publicity and success of Mr. Howard Stern.
Hey.
Hey now, Howard Stern on America's Got Talent, and he will also be on, you said, Comedy Central tonight?
11:01.
Is there a roast going on?
I don't know what it's about.
11:01 p.m.? Oh,
Yeah.
well, naturally, yeah. Howard Stern, who is on Sirius Satellite Radio, not by original plan or choice, but because he is a man like we are, that tells the absolute hard-hitting, cold, straight from the hip truth. He got fired from mainstream media, television, radio. They don't like people that tell the truth. They like people that are corporate ass-kissers and march in lockstep to the powers that be. And Howard Stern cannot bite his tongue, just like us, and also people like Jesse Ventura and Alex Jones. They cannot bite their tongue. They are not. They cannot be bought. I mean, it's very difficult to buy out people that are honest. Same thing with Gary Null. Dr. Gary Null, Alex Jones, Jesse Ventura, Howard Stern. All these people tell the real hard-hitting truth. And I salute Howard Stern because he shows a lot of compassion for people and cares, but he is brutally honest. But he maintains that with his decent, honorable, honest personality that he has. And I've been watching him, and he's doing a fantastic job, actually. So I salute one of the pioneers of, but they call it shock radio or shock jock. But it's similar to us mentioning that we represent the real hard-hitting truth, or underground media, the hard-hitting truth. It's similar to saying shock jock, because anytime you mention the real hard-hitting truth, it is automatically controversial. So they call you a controversial person or organization if you tell the real truth.
Remember 2,000 years ago, who they called controversial?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they put him on a cross, didn't they? Well, a stake, actually.
Yeah. Well, the Catholic Church modified it into a fancy cross.
Yeah.
But
well, that's because Emperor Constantine saw this vision with the cross.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, did you
So
know
at the Council of Nicaea?
Did you know that the symbol of the swastika is a very ancient symbol?
Very ancient.
In not one culture, but various cultures around the world, and it has nothing to do with fascism or Nazi Germany.
Mm-hmm.
The symbol of the island of Sicily, where my mother's family comes from, is like the head of Medusa with legs in the shape of a swastika going around, and I think it's like an eternal circle that keeps on spinning. You know, it's all like, and there are many different forms in ancient history.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't do their research, and they do not know history.
Okay.
That's why they vote. They keep on voting for these Republicans. And we have a Republican Congress because they don't do their homework, and they don't study, and they don't know history. But anyway, let me get promo out of the way. This gentleman right next to me with the beautiful pothos ivy dangling in the front, because we have a very beautiful large plant here, voted the #1 natural air purifier, the pothos ivy, otherwise known as the devil's ivy, from the Solomon Islands of the South Pacific. This #1, #2, I believe it was the spider plant. Best natural air purifiers. This guy here, this is a self-portrait of the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, my co-host and mentor. The Reverend Dr. Bill is a fine watercolor artist, and this is a watercolor painting, portrait. You can see the William J. Eisenman collection by typing in those words on Google, and you will see almost his entire collection, because Dr. Bill is always painting new projects.
By the way,
And you will see it to Caribbean steel drum music on a video slideshow on the internet. Just type in William J. Eisenman collection. Also see the entire album of his paintings, of gouache paintings and watercolor, by going to the newsletter censored Facebook page. It is open to the public, www.facebook.com/megalife21. Yes, you were going to say, by the way.
I was playing chess the other day with a gentleman from Brazil,
Oh, wow.
and we got to chatting, and he wanted to see my paintings.
And you sent him?
I told him what to do, and he did it, and he saw the paintings. And now he befriended me on Facebook.
Wow. That's good. Is he from Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, or
He didn't say.
He didn't say. He's Brazilian.
Yeah.
Well, I like the carefree, happy, positive, partying attitude of the Brazilians. especially their women that do the samba. You know, the ones that dance during Mardi Gras. Carnaval. Same thing. With the feathers. They're from northern Brazil. Very tall.
I like the lambada.
That comes from Brazil.
Yeah.
The samba is quite a workout. But it has African roots from the slaves. But anyway, yeah, if you see something you like in the William J. Eisenman collection, send the Reverend Dr. Bill an email from newslettercensor.com and ask him if the painting is still available, and if it is, send him a nice sizable gift to support this work, and you will get a painting. The bidding usually starts at $500 each. Now, this is what started our entire organization back in 1977. This was founded by the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman in 1977. It is Newsletter Censored. This is the very best way to join our organization. This is the very best way to be a part of our organization. It contains the 5 taboos of American life, which is politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. There is more information in this newsletter than there is on our talk shows or on our websites. And it reveals the kind of information that most people are afraid to hit. It reveals the kind of information that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? Simply, if you want to join our organization, this is the way to do it. Go to newslettercensor.com, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, you will get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. Okay? It is loaded with hard-hitting information. Okay? There's nothing like Newsletter Censored. You're not going to find anything like Newsletter Censored in the mainstream media or the press or anywhere in the world. It is one of a kind. It is very hard-hitting. And also, don't forget to check out on our Megalife 21 Internet Talk Radio website, which is at the top of newslettercensor.com. It's at the top of the page. There's a link there. Don't forget to check out. It's also on YouTube. You can Google Censored on Demand Archive Classics, or you can Google the God Project on Demand, and you will see all of the Dr. Bill's readings. You will never miss anything with Newsletter Censored and Megalife 21. You can pause it, you can watch it as often as you want. All of his readings are on the internet with the God Project and Censored on Demand Archive Classics. Also, don't forget to check out Dr. Bill for President. Yes, he's running for a 3rd time as a progressive independent. And Dr. Bill will teach you how to write in a candidate, and also he will teach you the way to get corruption out of politics is to get the money out of politics. So check that out. And that's about it. I mean, you need Newsletter Censored. We are living in the end times. And if you want to learn how to defeat a conservative and survive as America goes down into the abyss, into the pit of despair, and you know, this will guide you when it comes to Christianity and when it comes to politics. Newsletter Censored will guide you through. And of course, with the God Project, which is in this newsletter, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman will teach you what the Bible really has to say, and not what right-wing religious nut fundamentalists, Republicans, tell you what the Bible says, because they're trying to rewrite the Bible. But Dr. Bill will teach you what the Bible really has to say. So the God Project is in this newsletter. And you can also listen to the God Project every Sunday It's on every Sunday afternoon. Some starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I've been starting the shows early, very early, sometimes at noon, and just letting them go. They're supposed to end at 11, but it's not written in stone. You can listen to Newsletter Censored, The Real Truth. I also play it during major holidays when the holiday falls on a Monday. Like when we had Memorial Day, many people were off. So we had Newsletter Censored playing. But it's all on video, on the internet. So, you know, no matter how you shake it, you can listen to Newsletter Censored or The God Project by the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. Today is Saturday, so today is Holistic Health Talk by yours truly, James P. Madonna. So, that's it. Check it out. And, most importantly, get your free annual subscription with your gift to support this work of Newsletter Censored. Well, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, his favorite food, besides his nut and seed meal, which is fantastic, by the way, for vegetarians and vegans, because it contains some real powerhouses in there. It says raw almonds, raw walnuts, raw sunflower seeds. Sometimes he augments it with other things, you know, right? There might be other nuts in there depending on the price. Peanuts, roasted peanuts. He likes the red skin Spanish peanuts, but they're a little expensive now. So I think they're Virginia peanuts. And he also puts, you still put lecithin granules?
When I have them.
When you have it, okay. But he likes one-pot meals, like the Irish style of cooking. He likes the one-pot meal because it's convenient and you only have one pot to wash.
Yeah.
And I will be doing another health talk with our West Coast consultant, Mr. Dan E. Mount from San Francisco, California, our naturopathic and macrobiotic consultant. And I have some more tips for vegans concerning the pseudo grains amaranth and quinoa. They are used like grains, but they do not belong to any cereal grass species. They are not technically grains, so they call them pseudo grains. But they should be combined, and I will explain in detail when I do the show why they should be combined. Okay. Also, hemp. Hemp seed oil is very healthy. It is a powerhouse of medicinal attributes, and as far as nutritional and medicinal attributes, and I think it might even surpass flaxseed. Hemp oil. Chia is expensive now, but chia is the overall best, you know, for nutrition and for the highest amount of vegetarian omega-3 fatty acids for those of you that do not want to eat fish, to get the fish omega-3. Chia is the absolute best. Walnuts are high. I hear avocados contain omega-3. Also hemp is high. Flax, they're all high in omega-3. But until chia comes down in price, chia is number one. I think sesame is another powerhouse. It's high also. I think hemp is number two. Flaxseed has the most lignans, which has an anti-cancer, a powerful anti-cancer effect. Anyway,
walnuts are anti-cancer too, about 2 ounces a day.
Yeah, walnuts are great. Walnuts are a great source of vegetarian omega-3. But I was reading about the different oils, and hemp oil hemp oil has been demonized because of its relation to, you know...
Marijuana.
Yeah, the botanical name for the hemp plant is cannabis, whatever. But there's no, there was no mind-altering effect by taking the oil. It's very highly nutritious and medicinal. Now, with sesame is one of the oldest cultivated seeds domestically in Babylon. And there are different sesames too. You got the wild black sesame, you know,
You got
white.
the open sesame.
You have the open sesame, which is what you used to tell the young ladies. Open sesame.
Oh.
A little unplanned humor.
Oh boy, oh boy.
A little
oh boy.
abrupt, unplanned, unrehearsed ad-lib humor. Levity.
The Republican Party is now controlled by religious extremists and Tea Partiers
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
who have just jettisoned a strong but sane conservative in Indiana, Senator Richard Lugar, in favor of Richard Murdoch.
That's a good name for a Republican. Lugar, after the German pistol.
Loogie. Murdoch, who is somewhere to the right of our Representative Scott Garrett, and who believes Social Security and Medicare are unconstitutional.
What about giving welfare to rich people? That's not unconstitutional.
That's
That's okay.
Anyone who deviates from extreme right-wing ideology is targeted for defeat by these new party activists. Even staunch and reliable conservative Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah is being targeted. On the other hand, the Democratic Party is large enough to contain liberals like Senators Al Franken, Sherrod Brown, Frank Lautenberg, Robert Menendez of New Jersey, the more conservative House Minority Whip Steny Hoyer, and the Blue Dogs like Representative Heath Schuler and Henry Culler
Paid off.
and Jason Altmaier.
They sold out their voters, the Blue Dog Democrats.
I myself would just as soon have fewer better Democrats who fight for the poor and the middle class than bought and paid for corporate shills who stand for nothing.
And the United States media never gives face time for any of the progressive Democrats that fight for the little guy. You always see face time for the right-wing Republicans.
The Democratic Party is supposed to represent and vote in lockstep with Republicans, but it is false to claim that they aren't being included in the Big Tent. In reality, progressive Democrats increasingly find themselves shut out.
Oh yeah, it's not that they're not interested. It's that they're shut out.
Well,
They're not invited to the debates. They're not invited to an interview by the American media. You know, same thing happens here in New Jersey with Christie. The opponents of Christie are never interviewed on TV by the local New Jersey Channel 12 station. You never hear anything discouraging, a discouraging word or criticism about Christie on that news station. They are all right-wing corporate ass-kissing whores that take it up the ass from New Jersey fat cats, as far as I'm concerned, the New Jersey 12 news team. Yeah, I hope you hear about. I hope you watch this video and hear it. Huh?
I hope you're not including Roxanne in there.
Wasn't that a song? Roxanne, turn on the red
The lovely
light.
blonde anchor.
No, I'm talking
On News
about the
12.
political analyst, the Italian guy.
Michael Aaron.
No, there was
And the other guy.
but he has an Italian name.
Yeah.
He's a the financial analyst. I'm sorry, the financial analyst. He always has a big smile on his face when he talks about Christie. He has an Italian name. He's the financial man on News 12 for New Jersey. You know, he's always smiling ear to ear when he talks about corporations in New Jersey and Christie.
Mac Walford, a flamboyant Pentecostal pastor from West Virginia,
Flamboyant, huh?
whose serpent handling talents were widely known regionally,
Oh, shit.
hoped the outdoor service he had planned for last Sunday at an isolated state park would be a homecoming like the old days.
So he does this. He takes up serpents during the congregation, during the sermon, right? You remember what happened with the guy, with the Baptist pastor in Georgia who took up serpents? His wife got bit and she died from a rattlesnake bite. Taking up serpents. What an idiot. Endangering the parishioners, too.
Full of folks speaking in tongues,
Yeah,
handling
right.
snakes,
It's insane.
and having a great time.
They're not speaking in tongues. That's gibberish.
But it was not the sort of homecoming he foresaw.
Yeah.
Instead, Walford, who had turned 44 the previous day, was bitten by a rattlesnake. He died late Sunday night.
I didn't even
I
know.
guess God wasn't with him, was he?
God did not neutralize
Protect him.
God did not neutralize the venom.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Dr. Bill was going to say this. I just look. Look, it's a snake. You don't play with a snake. It's a cold-blooded reptile. It is not Satan. I know that's what they think. The snake represents evil, and that they will be protected, just like a person who doesn't believe in going to a doctor, who believes that they will be healed in a divine way from the illness. Well, as far as all this goes, the expectation of their ass getting saved divinely is not going to happen in this time in history. Maybe back in the Old Testament days, or when Jesus walked the earth, but not now.
Mark Randall, Mac Walford, was known all over Appalachia as a daring man of conviction. He believed that the Bible mandates that Christians handle serpents to test their faith in God, and that if they are bitten, they trust in God alone to heal them. He and other adherents cited Mark 16, verses 17 through 18 as the reason for their practice.
Mm-hmm.
And these signs will follow those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. They will take up serpents. And if they drink anything deadly, it will by no means hurt them.
Really?
They will lay their hands on the sick, and they will recover. The son of a serpent handler who had himself died in 1983 after being bitten, Walford was trying to keep the practice alive, both in West Virginia where it is legal and in neighboring states where it is not. He was the kind of man reporters love, articulate, friendly, and appreciative of media attention. Many serpent-handling Pentecostals retreat from journalists, but Mac did not. He'd take them on snake-hunting expeditions.
Lovely.
Last Sunday started as a festive worship service on a Sunday afternoon at Panther Wildlife Management Area, a state park roughly 80 miles west of Bluefield, West Virginia.
They got the northern timber rattlesnakes that live in the northeast in the mountains. They get quite large, and they're poisonous.
In the preceding days, Wolford had posted several teasers on his Facebook page asking people to attend. "I am looking for a great time this Sunday," he wrote. "It is going to be a homecoming like the old days. Good old raised in the holla or mountain ridge running. Holy Ghost-filled speaking in tongues, sign believers. Praise the Lord! And pass the rattlesnakes, brother." He also invited his extended family, who had largely given up the practice of serpent handling, to come to the park. "At one time or another we had handled snakes, but we had backslid," his sister Robin said late Monday. His birthday was Saturday, and all he wanted to do is get his brothers and sisters in church together. So they were gathered at this evangelistic hootenanny of Christian praise and worship. About 30 minutes into the service, his sister said Wolford was passing a yellow timber rattlesnake to a church member, and his mother...
Besides,
He laid it on the ground.
Next to her?
She said, and he sat down next to the snake.
He put other people in danger, loved ones.
And it bit him on the thigh.
Well, I guess that in his opinion, I guess that means God wasn't too crazy about his sermons, or him.
The festivities soon came to a halt. Wolford was taken back to a relative's house in Bluefield to recover.
To recover? With no medical attention?
As he always had when suffering from snake bites. By late afternoon, it was clear that the time was different, and desperate messages began flying about on Facebook asking for prayer. Wolford got progressively worse. Paramedics took him to Bluefield Regional Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead early Monday. It could not be determined when the paramedics were called. Wolford was 15 when he saw his dad die at the age of 39.
He didn't learn anything.
Of a rattlesnake bite. In almost exactly the same circumstances. He lived 10.5 hours, Wolford said. When he got bit, he said he wanted to die in the church. 3 hours after he was bitten, his kidney shut down. After a while, your heart stops. I hated to see him go, but he died for what he believed in. According to people who witnessed Mac Wolford's death, history repeated itself. He was bitten roughly at 1:30 p.m. and died around 11 that night. One of the people present was Lauren Pond, 26, a freelance photographer. She had been photographing serpent handlers in the area for more than a year and stayed at the Wolford's home. He helped me to understand the faith instead of just documenting it. He was one of the most open pastors I've ever met. He was a friend and a teacher. The family allowed her to stay near Wolford's side Sunday night. She's still recovering from having witnessed the pastor's agonizing death. I didn't see the bite, she said. I saw the aftermath. In an interview last year, Jim Murphy, curator of the Reptile Discovery Center at the National Zoo, described what happens when a rattlesnake bites. The pain is excruciating.
From the venom, right?
When there is a bite, he said, the venom attacks the nervous system. It's vicious and gruesome when it hits. But Mac Wolford refused to fear the creatures. He slung poisonous snakes around his neck. danced with them,
Yeah, that's what they do.
even laid down on or near them.
Did he kiss them?
He displayed spots on his right hand where copperheads had sunk their fangs. His home in Bluefield had a spare bedroom filled with at least 8 venomous snakes,
In his bedroom?
usually rattlers, water moccasins, copperheads, that he fed rats and mice to. He was passionate about wanting to help churches in nearby states, including North Carolina and Tennessee, where the practice is illegal, start up their own serpent handling services. I promised the Lord I'd do everything in my power to keep the faith going.
Oh, so he felt the Lord approved of this.
He said,
Interesting.
I spend a lot of time going a lot of places that handle serpents to keep them motivated. I'm trying to get anybody I can involved. His funeral will be held Saturday at his church, House of the Lord Jesus, in Matoaka, a town just north of Bluefield.
Okay, so what you're trying to tell me is that this pastor did not receive any medical attention, and
Not till he was dead, almost dead.
It also means that this pastor most likely received a lot of prayer,
Oh yeah.
and the prayer did not do any good, and he was not healed and saved by the Lord with no medical attention. And would this also be would it be accurate to assume that this is more of a cult than a organized Christian religious organization than a church? Sounds more like a cult to me.
Well, not only is it a cult,
Ideology, like the people in the red states that vote Republican all the time.
it is a belief that has not obeyed 2 Thessalonians 5:21. Prove all things. Hold fast that which is good. Now you don't go around, if you don't have God on your side, you don't go around handling snakes.
Well, wasn't he also violating?
He believed that God was with him. He didn't prove it.
He didn't prove it. Now, is he also
Big
guilty?
difference.
Is he also guilty of violating the last chapter of the book of Revelations about adding to this book or taking away from this book? Because he was making
His own tradition.
his own traditional assumptions and statements that
And making like they were Canaan of the religion or whatever.
like
Canaan law.
that God approved of his handling of poisonous serpents during a church service, and God is with him.
Yeah.
And
God was only making a statement. Now, but this gentleman thought that God was with him, but because they don't get the false Christianity, the counterfeit Christians, they don't get the idea that God is only with the elect, the first resurrection, the first fruits. Nobody else at this time. They don't get it. So they make up all these different religions and all these different canons and laws and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And they talk.
God has nothing to do with it.
And they talk about being able to have a conversation with God and ask Him for anything you want.
They're talking to themselves.
I know people that are constantly trying to have a conversation with God and praying for every little thing in their life. Like, I mean, all the billions of people that are on this planet, and they think that the Almighty God is like walking with them and cares about their career or their popularity or their success or what happens. Parking space with Joel Osteen, or with what's happening in their lives. And it is a form of right-wing fundamentalism. It's a religious nut. They're religious nuts, like the man in Florida the pastor who burned the Quran, and the church in the Baptist church in Kentucky that forbid any interracial marriages, you know, displayed racism, and the list goes on and on and on and on of all the shenanigans that the right-wing fundamentalist churches pull. It could be blowing up an abortion clinic. It could be hatred towards, bigotry towards gay people, treating women like second-class citizens, being anti-female. It goes on and on and on, and it's just more like a cult. Now, tell me, tell the people out there, what exactly is speaking in tongues in comparison to what these people claim speaking in tongues is?
Speaking in tongues occurred on the day of Pentecost.
Okay.
When the Holy Spirit was given to the apostles. And they spoke whereas they all could understand each other. Not gibberish.
Like they do now in these right-wing fundamentalist churches. These born-again...
Speaking in tongues was never gibberish.
Born-again evangelical churches are all going... It's gibberish. They're not speaking... They're not... There is no higher power that's making them do that. It doesn't mean anything. And they feel that by putting their hands up in the air, they're feeling the...
They're becoming an antenna for God.
It's an antenna for God. They feel like they're touching, they're closer to Him because their hands are up.
They're getting His vibe.
And if they wave their hands from left to right,
hey God, I'm here.
The antenna becomes more powerful. So what they're doing today in these born-again evangelical fundamentalist churches is nothing but gibberish coming from misled Christians who are deluded and misled.
The whole world is deceived. Revelation 12:9.
You know, thus the ideology that makes them vote Republican, who do not care for middle class and poor people at all. They only care for the rich. And these people think that by not following their misinterpretations of the Bible, by not following their cult, that they are going to be damned. They are going to not make it to heaven or whatever, and they.
Well, nobody's going to heaven.
Yeah. Well,
this is another one of their traditions.
Well, they believe in the immortal soul that flies out of your body.
Well, the Bible doesn't.
Oh. Okay.
Just the same thing as, for instance, God says, the Sabbath is the seventh day of the week, and it shall be obeyed forever. Yet Constantine and what became the Roman Catholic Church go into the Council of Nicaea and change it to the first day of the week, Sunday, because they didn't want to believe the God stuff, which they called Judaizing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tradition. The first day of the week, Sunday, the Lord's Day. But this is believed by all these false Christians, counterfeit Christians. They adhere to these things which are against the Bible. Blatantly so. And yet, they are deceived. They don't see it. And they wish to foist these things upon you. In our law. They want to put their stupid ideas into our laws. You see it in Alabama.
Yeah.
Where you can't buy a vibrator.
Or a dildo.
Or a dildo.
For a female.
To massage yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, masturbation is prohibited. I hear even in Islam masturbation is prohibited. But with many of these false Christian traditions came from the sun god Baal, right? Was that Sumerian or Babylonian or?
Well, Sumerian? Babylonian. It goes way back to Babylon and Nimrod.
Even before, right?
And Simon Magus. They're all involved in this crapola of false doctrines which were developed, and the paganism that was taken into the big church that actually martyred 11 of the original apostles, what became the Roman Catholic Church, killed all 11 of the original 12 apostles.
And so this proves, well, in history, the history of mankind,
the blood of the saints.
The blood of the saints.
On their hands.
Well, the history of mankind, the true flock, God's true church, was always a small flock, very small.
32:12. Luke 32:12.
Talks about God's church always being a small flock.
But this church that eventually morphed into what we know as the Roman Catholic Church today tried to destroy Jesus' church. Jesus began his church in AD 31. And it was all kinds of false ministers and false doctrines. Paul writes about it. He's what all of those letters to all those churches is Paul telling them what's going on.
Yeah, how come they don't pay attention to that part of what Paul...
And Paul obeyed the Sabbath. Yet people today who would say, Paul, they don't obey the Sabbath. Their Sabbath is on Sunday.
Maybe since Paul is their mentor, they better start doing more.
They better start reading him.
They better start reading him, Paul's letters.
Yeah.
You know, these are the grace.
He celebrated the 7 holy days, not the pagan Easter, Christmas, New Year's, and all these things that were drug into the Roman Catholic Church. Of course, then you have Mary worship.
Oh yeah, Mary's the top banana in Latin America.
You always see Mary there with little Jesus, the little pootie, you know, like a little pootie.
And Joseph in the background.
Or that weak, sallow thing hanging from a cross that people believe was Jesus.
Did you know Jesus was not born in a manger in Bethlehem? He was born in Bethlehem, but not in a manger. Manger is a barn, right? Where livestock is kept, right? And the 3 wise men did not show up.
Weeks later.
They showed up weeks later.
Yeah.
Not, you know, not at the birth. But anyway, do you have a heavy-duty article as a last article?
I have an interesting couple of letters.
Oh, okay.
I feel badly for the teachers who have been arrested for being involved with male students at Clifton High School and Woodridge High School.
Uh-huh.
When the colonists came to the home of Indian tribes for many years, they didn't just bring smallpox and a desire to find silver and gold and have the dominant religion. They also brought the horror known as puritanism.
Mm-hmm.
5+ centuries later, the sickness of puritanism still infects this country and clouds people's minds to the fact that all human beings are part of the animal kingdom. Various religions have tried to control people's behavior by the fear of terrible punishment if they don't follow the rules of these religions. Some of these teachers have spent years in jail for crossing the line. The age when a student is legal varies, but is usually quite a long time after puberty. The latest teachers have denied the charges against them. I hope they win their cases. I wish the last vestiges of this puritanical society would vanish and a greater sense of tolerance would dominate. It is encouraging to see that an increasing number of people have expressed doubt about the supposed harmful effect on teenagers of their having sex with an addict. The record has covered a number of these legal offenses, reporting that several adults are now serving jail terms for them. Probably some of these are worthy of our attention, but the concern has never received the kind of careful thinking through that it needs, possibly because, though we have made considerable strides in sexual liberty, the Puritan distrust and fear of sexuality still impedes clear-headed thinking. charges leveled against adults who have violated the relevant law usually give two explanations. The adult has contributed to the delinquency of or endangered the welfare of the teenager. There is, of course, possible harm in any sexual relationship. There's no reason to believe that teenage adult sex really causes unusual damage to anyone. If an attractive adult woman had taken me to her bed when I was 16, I would still be blessing her name. Unless someone can supply convincing evidence that a teenager whom nature has prepared for sexual activity is in any way harmed, the idea that youngsters should be protected from what we call lovemaking needs to be eradicated. Does this hold true for girls as well as boys? Not quite. Because while the boy has no more to lose than anyone else engaged in sex, the girl does. Teenage pregnancy is seriously damaging. But we have several means of avoiding pregnancy today, and so the only man who should be sent to jail for bedding a minor is someone who fails to take the necessary precautions. The men and women should now be imprisoned for an act never proved to be harmful must be of serious concern for us all. We must dismiss the idea that our sexuality is always suspect. This idea goes as far back as at least the Apostle Paul, and will not be erased without vigorous contention from more and more guilt-free and sensible people.
Well, all I have to say is there is very little, if any, psychological difference and maturity level between a 16, 17-year-old and a legal 18-year-old young person. They are basically the same. They're sexually mature, even though they might not be totally matured mentally, but between comparing a 16, 17, and 18-year-old when they become legal at 18, there's really no difference. I mean, and you can't corrupt a boy. A boy, you're actually doing a teenage, not a young teenage boy, but you're actually doing an older teenage boy a huge favor if a very attractive teacher, she's very hot looking, seduces a 16, 17-year-old high school student who's male. Maybe a female is more, I think there might be more of a tendency to negatively affect the female, but not the boy who has his raging hormones flowing and his much higher testosterone level. I don't think it can happen. Like, remember,
and that's probably his number one fantasy.
That's his number one fantasy, of course. What about that hot-looking blonde teacher in Florida that went to prison for fooling around with a 16-year-old boy? I saw what she looked like. She did that boy a huge favor by banging him or getting banged or whatever the hell they did. Huge favor. She was very attractive. She broke him in good. You can't corrupt a young boy with raging hormones. That's more right-wing fundamentalist crapola.
Tradition. Puritan tradition.
So what this article states is that it has not been proven that an adult teacher having an affair with a teenage child adversely affects them psychologically for the rest of their life. There's no evidence to support it. Right?
I think what he's actually saying is that we should look at these things case by case.
Individually.
If there happens to be a big problem, then we look at it differently. If it just happened and nobody was hurt, we look at that differently.
Well, I think what makes it...
But they shouldn't be going to jail.
No, what makes it illegal is the fact
Remember, again, let us contrast. Nobody on Wall Street has gone to jail.
That's true.
Yet they want to put a woman in jail for having sex with a 16-year-old.
Nobody...
The people on Wall Street brought this country to its knees, and the world, what the hell did she do? Maybe get on her knees and give him a blowjob?
Right. Or
Hey!
penetration, or big
You know?
deal. Yeah, this country was destroyed by Wall Street, high-level, high-end criminals, white-collar criminals. Wall Street, Goldman Sachs people. This country was ruined by them. Not one of them is serving time in prison. But the real pretty teacher is serving time for having sex with a 16-year-old boy. It's
something wrong with this picture.
Something very wrong with this picture. Yeah, you know, the white-collar crimes that have done irreparable damage to this country, justice was never served. But you know, well, the main problem is that, you see, these these teenagers are still minors, and they're still supported by their parents, and their parents are still responsible. And if you get a puritanical right-wing parent, they're going to make a big stink out of it. And you know, of course, do they get a statement from the teenagers that had an affair with the teacher?
No, whatever I've seen, they don't really talk to the teenagers to find out how they felt about it.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah.
Are you adversely affected? Are you traumatized by having this affair with the teacher? 9 times out of 10, the kid is going to say, "Oh no, I had a crush on my teacher for a long time. I think she's hot. I had fun. Oh, it was great. I don't want to stop." I bet you that's what the kids would say.
Yeah.
You know, but then if you talk to the religious nut parents, they make a big deal out of it. Just like they make a big deal, they made a big deal when an adult store opened up at that time on a highway in Saddlebrook, New Jersey, and all the residents, all the ladies with curlers in their hair were protesting.
Blue-haired ladies.
Yeah, we're all the home the older homemakers had nothing better to do in their, you know, their boring humdrum lives, but to picket and protest and try to get the store closed down. Meanwhile, it was not near any school
or church
or residential area, but they just didn't like it that an adult store, which had the windows covered so you can't see what's inside, they were selling sex toys and pornographic
But if
material.
God saw that, you know, he would know that they weren't religious.
But then again, you're mixing
That
church.
would be bad.
Now you're mixing church and state, church with the law.
Bingo!
And you're forcing your beliefs on other people.
But that's what happened in this country. That's what the Puritans did.
Hey, they fled England because of persecution, right?
And brought persecution over here.
Maybe there's a reason why the people of England kicked them out, and they had to take the Mayflower to Plymouth Rock, to the New World, and screw up the Indians, the Native Americans in that area, and then become nuts, right-wing fundamentalist nuts during the Salem witch hunt. Maybe there's a reason why the English did not want them in England anymore. The king wasn't too crazy about them. They were outcasts. You got to think. Independent, free-thinking people. You know? Think about what you learn from history. You know, you don't hear anybody talking about how the poor Native Americans were screwed over. They just talk about, oh, the Mayflower, Plymouth Rock, oh, the bounty of the Thanksgiving dinner, and they're all like Homer Simpson. They're all gluttonously shoveling food, or Adam Richman from Man vs. Food on the Travel Channel. It's all about gluttony. Alton Brown said it. It's a show about gluttony. Meanwhile, people are starving. Children are starving in third, fourth, whatever, fifth world countries. Starving in Africa, and this guy Adam Richman is just shoveling food down his gut.
A lot of our people are starving too. It's called obesity.
Empty calories.
Yep.
Because they don't have any healthy choices, because, to quote a very clever poster that I saw on Facebook, to an American child who happens to be obese, a hamburger may cost 99 cents, but a healthy salad costs $4.99. That is why kids are obese and malnourished, because the healthy choice is just too damn expensive. They can't afford it. If you go to Whole Foods, you go to the healthy organic salad bar, whatever, $7.99 a pound. When you start putting food in your tray, like especially food that's marinated in like extra virgin olive oil, or anything heavy, that tray, that container of salad from the salad bar is going to cost you more money than it would cost at a good buffet. So healthy, highly nutritious, organically grown foods are too expensive for the average American and the kids to eat. So therefore they have no choice but to pick the inexpensive garbage.
And of course they've been raised with sugar.
Addicted to sugar.
Sugar is a treat, replacement for mommy,
Like we talked about before. American food industry wants Americans to be addicted to their crap, just like they spike cigarettes with chemicals to make you more addicted to your cigarettes. It's a dishonest, immoral, crooked,
sells more product
racket. It's a cycle, huh?
Sells more product. That's what it's all about.
Profit before people and the planet. Profit before the planet. This is where we're at in the end times. This is the corporate plutocracy that you people have to prevent from taking place by voting progressive independent or a progressive Democrat. Okay, kick the right wing out of Congress and the Senate. The best thing you can do.
And out of the country too.
Yeah, and vote for progressive or independent or Democrat for in your state for governor. Oh, never vote for a right-wing conservative Republican. Never, ever. Because you're voting against your own well-being and best interest, and you're voting for the top 1%. The fat cats, the elitists. So a vote for Mitt Romney is a vote for the top 1%. And if you don't believe me, do your research. And if you have a brain in your head, which most of you lemmings don't have in America, you probably will follow your stupid, deluded ideology. But if you're intelligent and you're a free, independent thinker, you will not vote for a right-wing conservative ever, unless you're filthy rich. Anyway, thank you for joining us for this week's Progressive Discussions, and say so long to the people.
So long.
So long. That's it. What I have to do later is, speaking of the healthy oils like sesame and whatever, I have to go to the big Asian market and maybe get some of those wild black sesame. When I go to the farmer's market, would you like some whole flax seeds to put in your nut and seed meal?
Nope.
To augment it? You don't want any? Okay.
Nope.
You don't need anything else?
Nope.
All right. Yeah, because I definitely want to start combining the quinoa with the amaranth with the bran and put some healthy seeds and toast it before I cook it as a hot cereal. Because I will mention why I want to combine quinoa with amaranth when I do Health Talk with Dan E. Mount.
Dan E. Mount.
Dan E. Mount. Not because he's mounting it.
It sounds like a porn star.
Yeah, because it sounds like he's mounting.
Dan E. Mount.
Like he's mounting a chick, right? Dan E. Mount.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a holistic consultant. Holistic, get it? He always makes that joke.
Geez.
Holistically, the
Lord.
the holistic Dan E. Mount. No, he is not a porn star. He is a, like I said, naturopathic, and he's mostly a macrobiotic trained consultant. But he's not mounting anybody. Hopefully, he will amount to be a lot. His career will amount to much prosperity. Funny, huh? Ha ha ha.